You're listening to Let's Talk Fantasy Football, where men of fantasy genius have realized, hey guys, we don't need real football skills to dominate on the fantasy field. Yeah. So slap on your pads and grab your helmet. Shit's about to get real.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to another edition of Let's Talk Fantasy Football. I am your host, and joining me tonight, guys, for the Week 8 preview, Part 1, it's the DON himself, Don Crispin. Don, what is going on?
What's up, dude?
Just living the dream, man. Living the dream. We're here to talk fantasy football. We're recording during a bit of a stinker here. 16-6 Thursday night football game?
Yeah, just another shitty Thursday night football game after a shitty Monday night football game.
We have not been rewarded by the football gods, at least for some of these primetime games. At least, fortunately, here for Week 8, Don, we're going to have a banger of a Sunday night football game, at least for us, with a little bit of excitement there.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true.
Monday night football is a different story, but we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves, so we'll get to that in a second. But we do want to note, guys, before we jump into the Week 8 preview, the Week 7 recap is also out. We know you're already focused on Week 8, but there's a lot of good statistical tidbits in there from Walsh and Finney. So if you haven't listened, please do go back, listen to what they have to say. A lot of good info, and despite it being titled a recap, it's a lot of things that people miss just because of the titling of the podcast. So please go back, give it a listen. But Don, before we jump into Part 1 of the Week 8 preview, bye weeks for those that do not know, Ravens and Cowboys, they are out this week, so look for other guys to play. We've also got some injuries and some big names you got to keep in mind with late games and other lineup options, unfortunately. And do not send us questions about the Ravens and Cowboys, guys. You'd be amazed how many people send us questions about guys on bye weeks. Please, 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 please. We love answering your questions, and we get a lot of them. But sifting through the guys on bye weeks is just a frustrating moment for all of us.
But for goodness sakes, pay attention.
Pull your head out of your asses, people. Don, let's kick it off and start with the first game of the week here with the Seahawks versus the Falcons, a 1 p.m. Eastern start. And we'll start on the Seattle side of the ball with Russell the Electric Wilson. I just gave him that nickname here on the podcast. But for fantasy football owners, he's been nothing short of spectacular.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. It's crazy. Like, Russell Wilson's always been like he ends up always being good every year, but
he's
like the last few years it was like second half.
He's a second half guy.
He's having a great year this year right now. So, and he's going against the Falcons. We talked about this last week, Nick, where we were saying pretty much this is the week where you play everybody.
Correct.
If they're playing the Falcons, I don't think that changes, dude. I mean, Russell Wilson should have I believe he's like the number 2 QB right now in fantasy. He's going to have a very
Yeah, he's in your lineup. It's unquestioned. I mean, he's fed DK Metcalf 40 targets, Tyler Lockett 48 targets. Pretty similar workloads, which is a bit surprising to me as the season on a whole note. But obviously, great things to come. Even Chris Carson, dude, he's got 26 targets on the season. So that combined with his rushing touches, I mean, he's an every week start, and
for sure
we can almost even skip over him. As he's next on the list. But just Russell Wilson and that offense as a whole has provided, I don't even know if it's fair to say, a level of consistency that I didn't fully expect as we went in here. Again, I've been burned by Wilson a bunch in the past, being a second-half guy, and he's shown up to do it, and he's taken DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Chris Carson with him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I just recently traded for DK Metcalf just solely with Disley going down and the target share that he was going to get, being a big body guy with the way that they're playing. I mean, even though he didn't have that great of a week last week, he still did have 9 targets, which is what you're looking for.
Absolutely. Don, I think Chris Carson, we as much as we said about him, is really all we need to say. He's in your lineup. You own him. You're playing him. No questions asked. I think we keep it moving, and I think you can also say the same here about Tyler Lockett. He's 40 of 48 for 515 yards and 4 scores. He's the PPR wide receiver number 9 right now. He's an every week start. He's definitely a start here against the Falcons defense that have allowed at least 6 receptions to primary slot wide receivers. Even guys like Nelson Aguilar got it done, and he's yikes.
Nelson Aguilar.
Yeah, it's not great. DJ Metcalf, I would say wide receiver 3 upside. Again, it's the Falcons, so I think you definitely have the upside there. You never know, but he's that deep threat red zone option that Russell Wilson really likes to, I think, take advantage of.
Yeah, he's getting the targets, dude, and he is a red zone threat. This is the week that DK Metcalf should be in your wide receiver 3 slot or flex.
No question. Do you have any interest here in Jaron Brown, David Moore, Malik Turner? I mean, they're all snap counts are relative, right? 60% for Jaron Brown, 42% for David Moore. Malik Turner is down about 17%. Any of these interest you, or do you think this is kind of the core we've already touched on?
No, that's the core that you're going to go with. That's the guys that are really going to be your primary scorers. Everyone else, you got to be really ballsy, and there's not a lot of upside there. So
yeah, I don't think you have to get that desperate with only 2 teams on the bye. You got a couple guys there that are obviously starters, but for the most part, I think you can keep kind of plugging forward. At tight end, Don, you spinning the wheel with Luke Wilson here, 47% snaps, 13 routes, and 1 target. Okay, I agree.
I think that's where, again, you lose the value with Disley, but that's where it picks up with DK Metcalf more than Luke Wilson.
100%. Definitely more upside for sure. On the Falcons side of the ball, Don, let's talk Matt Ryan. The QB spot is actually it's a very concerning spot, I think, for the team, right? Because if Matt Ryan goes, he's hobbled, right? We know Matt Ryan's banged up in the walking boot. So we don't know if he's officially going to suit up. The early word, guys, again, we're recording Thursday night, so you're hearing this Friday morning. The early word is they expect him to go. But if he goes, he's not 100%. So are you willing to roll the dice on Matt Ryan, or are you looking elsewhere? Because even if he goes, he's been garbage time dependent, right? He's kind of the comeback kid, if you will, for fantasy football.
Sure. I mean, that's a good question, man. So obviously you don't even know if he's going yet, right? Correct. So I'm trying to think of who are the waivers of the week. I mean, listen, if Drew Brees is not a go, I believe Teddy Bridgewater is on a lot of guys' waivers right now. They're going against Arizona. Teddy Bridgewater would be a great waiver pickup this week. Trying to think of another big.
I think Stafford could be an option for you if you need somebody to play in the Giants. Who I know Kyler didn't get it done, but they've allowed 20+ fantasy points to 5 of 7 QBs this season. He doesn't have his workhorse running back. Ryan Tannehill, he's coming in.
What do you think about Daniel Jones this week against Detroit? No, never mind. I'm not going to even bring that up. I thought that'd be like a talking point at all, but no. Put Danny Dimes back on the bench, but I would say a Teddy Bridgewater, or if you want to be safe, a Matt Stafford.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I think you can't trust Matt Ryan, right? He got hurt. He got you, I call it 3 fantasy points. I don't have his numbers in front of me from last week, but it was obviously a letdown week. I don't think even if he goes, you can trust him, and you're without a doubt not playing Matt Schaub in his place. So I think those other options, the names we hit there, are good options to consider. As far as the running game, it's all Devontae Freeman.
Yeah, right? And I think especially if Matt Ryan doesn't go, they're going to depend a little bit more on Devontae Freeman. I think he has a decent floor, but the ceiling is also limited this game as well.
Yeah, I agree. He's a middle of the road guy. Fucking roll him out there though.
You still got to play him. He's like that low end RB2 for you this week.
Yeah, he reminds me of Frank Gore of old. Never a sexy play, but just somehow just fucking plugs along and gets it done. Wide receivers real quick. Mohamed Sanu obviously gets traded to the Patriots, so he's no longer a Falcon. So not relevant here in this game, but just a note for those of you that maybe missed it or just slipped your mind. Julio Jones, obviously the big wide receiver here for them. You're less pumped, right, if it's Matt Schaub. I mean, there's nothing you can really do about it, but I think I'm more excited about the possibility of Calvin Ridley here if Matt Ryan does go this week.
Yeah, I think that if it's not Matty Ice, I think the only receivers I'm playing would be Julio. And, I mean, Hooper's really kind of earned his spot to just
Hoop Daddy
every week. So I don't think even if Schaub would to go that I would sit Hooper just because he's really earned that every week role. But I think if Schaub goes, I think Ridley's the one receiver that I would put on the bench.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a bit back and forth on Ridley, right? I mean, when he's given at least 8 targets in a game so far this year, he's gone 7 for 146 and 3 scores, 5 for 88 and a touchdown, 6 for 71 and a touchdown, 8 for 105 and a touchdown, 8 for 93 and a touchdown. So if the targets are there, and again, I think I like that better with Matt Ryan than Matt Schaub. I think the opportunity is just he's gotten it done. So the future for Calvin Ridley is bright. Whether that continues this week, I don't know. But yeah, Hoop Daddy is tight end number 1. He's in your lineup unquestionably. The hope for Hoop Daddy though, right, is if you look at the stats on, it's actually, to me, it's super interesting, right? Most of his production comes when the Falcons are in comeback mode and trailing by multiple scores. When the Falcons are leading or tied, he's only got 4 catches for 64 yards and 0 touchdowns. When the Falcons are trailing, he's got 39 for 462 and 4 touchdowns. So his first and second half splits are all over the place. I don't think the game script changes for the Falcons because I think they are who we thought they were, right? Not a great football team, but they put up a bunch of points for fantasy football. So yeah. Hoop Daddy in your lineup, just when you see those early low point scores, it's statistically who he has been this year. Sure. He's a second half of the game player. And
they should be down against Seattle.
Yep, I expect them to be down without question. And as far as I'm concerned, Don, we can pick them.
I mean, yeah, we're going to go Seahawks.
Yeah, we're going to sweep Seahawks through for sure. Let's talk about the Chargers and the Bears, Don. 1 p.m. Eastern start, and I think this should be an easy one for you when it comes to pick them because you love the Chargers and you hate the Bears. So that's a pretty clear, who needs fantasy analysis with that? Let's just pick this game and move on. Just kidding. Let's start with the Chargers and Phillip Rivers leading the way, Don. Your boy Phillip, who personally can't stand. It's been a bit of a fantasy letdown this year.
He has been. He's been the guy that I've been saying for I don't even know how many years. It's just he should be your last pickup of the draft because he's just always underrated every year going into the season for fantasy-wise with fantasy rankings and ends up being almost like a top 10 QB or right outside of it every year. And this year I've actually pretty much dropped him in every league that I have him, and I'm either just hitting the wire every week where it works or, I've got a lot of Gardner Minshew. Was able to pick up Goff a few weeks ago in a league while he was sucking. So I'm playing a lot of I'm throwing Teddy Bridgewater out there.
Yep.
I've played Jacoby Brissett a week. So it's just the Chargers are not good right now. And I know the Bears have a lot of issues too, but generally speaking, the Bears still have a very good defense.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? I mean, you look at this offense as a whole, and I mean, Keenan Allen had 11 targets last week after finishing with 6 or fewer opportunities in weeks 4 through 6. I think we had talked about, we're concerned about the trend for Keenan Allen, right? So this last week was obviously a bonus for us, or kind of some of that proof of try and keep the faith a little bit. Hopefully it continues. Unfortunately, I don't think it's a get right spot for Keenan Allen as far as I don't think he's getting 11 targets again here in this game. The Bears are they're good, right? They're not the world-beating unit we saw last year, but they're still 6th in DVOA against the pass and specifically against number 1 wide receivers, which is Keenan Allen. So unfortunately, I think it's a little bit back to reality for Keenan Allen in this matchup here. I think in the receiving game, the guy that I do like is Mike Williams. He's got more air yards done than literally everyone except Stephon Diggs over the past 3 weeks. I don't expect a blow-up performance because the Bears are good, but this stat comes from Roto World. He says that only Robert Woods and Jamison Crowder have more targets than Mike Williams without a receiving TD this season. So at some point, he's going to hit pay dirt. I don't know if it's against the Bears. I'm never going to know when it's going to come. But if you own him and you need a plug and play with buys coming up, and whether it's this week or not, just someone I think to keep in mind. And there's a lot of mouths to feed, right? Melvin Gordon, Austin Eckler, Hunter Henry, who I think is an automatic in your lineup guy. He's tight end number 1 and 5 over the past 2 weeks, respectively. So it's tough not to love him, but. I think that sums it up in the passing game. The running game, Don, we still have the Melvin Gordon, Austin Eckler situation, right? Where Austin Eckler, for the most part, is still producing like a low-end running back one, give or take, based on volume and I think some of his production here. He's averaging 9.3 targets per game, 72.7 receiving yards per game since Melvin Gordon's returned. I mean, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah, no, I think Eckler actually – I actually think I'm not playing Gordon this week. You still haven't seen enough out of him. I think that really the only players I'm playing out of the Chargers this week is Hunter Henry and Austin Eckler. Eckler, even before the season and when there was no holdout, Eckler's been very efficient every single year, even with a small share that he's had. This is the year that he's obviously taken on a bigger role with everything that's happened, but I think that doesn't change where he might not get a lot of rushes itself, but he's still going to get a good amount of target share in the passing game. I think that this is going to be there's going to be a lot of pressure on Phillip Rivers, and I think he's going to have to lean towards Eckler quite a bit with a lot of short passes to him. So I think this is more of a play for Eckler, and again, those are the only two people I'm playing. I'm sitting Gordon, but I am playing Austin Eckler.
Yeah, I'm with you. Again, I don't think Mike Williams needs to be forced into lineups.
I'd look elsewhere on that.
Statistically, it's just an interesting guy to watch, particularly based on the volume and everything else you have coming in there.
Yeah, he's due. It's just not this week.
Yeah, and we can't say with confidence when that week comes anyway. But Don, Bears side of the ball, Mitch Trubisky has been
really good.
He's been the Mitch Trubisky we all know and love. I think is as kind as we can put our description on Mitch Trubisky. What do you think about David Montgomery? Because the expectations coming in super high. He had his weeks that the trend started to be his friend, and then we just kind of fell flat on his face last week.
Yeah, I mean, here's the problem, dude. It's just there's a lot of expectations for a lot of things this year with the Chicago offense, and it's all kind of just been not good. Obviously, Tariq Cohen had a really productive year last year with fantasy, where Jordan Howard really lost that role that everyone was really disappointed with, right? But now Tariq Cohen, there's nothing. David Montgomery, after the second week against Denver, you're like, okay, here we go. But now it's just like, maybe not.
I'm with it, man. It's just there's not a great – you can't have any confidence, right? I mean, it's really as it chalks down to. There's no confidence.
Unfortunately, no. But here's the upside here is that the Chargers are not very good right now.
It's true.
They technically have, a lot of personnel on that defense. They should have a strong defensive front. But, again, they still aren't good. This should be a game that Chicago should take advantage of. If you play David Montgomery, it's okay. But, I mean, man, it's just too inconsistent. It's just a very underwhelming team. This could also be the game where the Chargers finally pick up their confidence and beat up on the Bears offense.
100%. I think I don't have anything else to offer on David Montgomery, right? I own a ton of him, and I find that he's on my bench way more than I like him to be based on what I paid, the belief I had, and unfortunately, it just is what it is, right? I mean, we're week 8. Guys kind of are who we thought they were, or they've developed into their reputation at this point. And David Montgomery is that guy of there is no consistency or faith in him. Let's talk about the wide receivers, Don. Allen Robinson has just been a fucking stud of a wide receiver. Caught at least 6 passes in all but one game this year. He's got a rock solid floor with some great upside.
Just the way you say rock solid just gets me ready to go.
There we go. You're ready to fucking rumble, dude. He's an upside wide receiver too, regardless of the matchup. He obviously gets a shadow of Casey Hayward here. Obviously, it's not an easy matchup by any statement, but he'll be just fine. He's in your lineup without question. And I think your other wide receivers here, Don, when it comes down to it, are you got. I'm not interested in the tight end position at all. Trey Burton hasn't surpassed 20 yards in a game this season. Anthony Miller, a guy that a lot of people last year, myself included this year, I kind of came off that train, had high hopes for where it could go, posted 4 for 52 and 5 for 64 over the past 2 games. He averaged 8 targets per game in those contests. I just don't think you can have any confidence in the consistency.
Oh, I'm not playing him this week. He got the targets against Oakland and then New Orleans, who, even though they have a good defense and a good team, They have been susceptible to the pass. Chicago's defense is – I mean, not Chicago. Chargers defense is a little bit different with their corners. Anthony Miller is not a guy I'm rolling out this week.
Totally agree. Just felt it was relevant based on the target.
Well, you're wrong. It's not relevant. Okay.
All right, Don. Well, with that, let's pick them, and then we're gonna turn over host to you.
Bolt up, dude.
I'm going to
Phillip Rivers slinging more touchdowns than the amount of kids he has.
I'm gonna bolt up as well, which means they're gonna lose because they always lose games that they should win. Sweep it through, Don. Giants versus the Lions, a 1 p.m. Eastern start. Let's start on the Giants side of the ball. I don't know why this is what it is.
I was going to say, what?
Daniel Jones leading the charge for the Giants.
His evil twin, David Jones?
His evil twin, David Jones, as he was noted here in our notes. I actually had written Eli down the first time. Just felt like, it was just old habits, dying hard. But unfortunately, or fortunately for the Giants, it's Daniel Jones. We talked about him earlier on, Don. There are other options out there for fantasy football owners than rolling out Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I mean, we were going over waivers, and I brought it up for a second because it was the Lions defense. Then I was like, never mind.
Yeah, we're going to pass. Saquon Barkley, Don. Ankle injury, practiced in full Thursday. If you own him, you're playing him unquestionably. Just important to note he did practice on Thursday, which is great for Saquon owners. A couple scares mixed and matched here. Golden Tate looks like he's coming into his own here as a wide receiver with the Giants. He's become relevant again.
Yeah, it never really was irrelevant, and I think that
he missed time on the suspension. He wasn't.
Yeah, right. But it's a receiver that Daniel Jones needs. It's a veteran receiver that can get it done, and Golden Tate, someone that you can roll out.
Yep, he gets Justin Coleman as a potential shadow matchup here. Coleman is Pro Football Focus's number 16 highest graded cornerback in coverage.
Means 15 or better than him though.
That does mean there's 15 or better. So I'm not benching Golden Tate. I still think he's he's a wide receiver too here, but. He's seen a fantasy-friendly average of 8.7 targets per game. Obviously a great thing. And Sterling Shepard, we expect to miss this game, Don, with the concussion. SNY's Ralph Vacino reports Sterling Shepard concussion will miss Week 8 against the Lions. So we don't expect him to go. Evan Ingram, what a disappointment last week, Don. What a disappointment. He was my lock of the week based on the matchup.
He was supposed to be fed.
It was supposed to be the lock of the week, and it just was completely the opposite. I'm just going to say it happens. It is what it is. If you own him, you're still rolling him out there in your lineup.
Yeah, you still have to play him.
All right. Anything else on the Giants side of the ball?
No, dude. I think that, it's really a Saquon, Golden Tate, Evan Ingram role. I don't think there's a need to really play Danny Dimes in a stream. I think there's other people to play.
Let's do it. Let's talk Lions side of the ball. Matthew Stafford, we touched on him, Don, before. The Giants have allowed 20-plus fantasy points to 5 of 7 quarterbacks so far this year. The 2 exceptions were both rookies. So, Kyler, disappointment last week. I think Matthew Stafford is going to be just fine here, particularly as a plug-and-play guy that you need can easily be a 20-point waiver wire ad for you, which is huge for the offense. The bigger question, Don, comes at the running back spot, right? Kerryon Johnson goes to IR. Unfortunate for the team and for fantasy owners. Ty Johnson was arguably the number 1 waiver claim everywhere. You were able to claim him in our league and quickly flip him around for some Larry Fitz action this morning.
Yeah. No, I mean, Ty Johnson, I believe, unless – you have someone like a Kyle in your league that just skips up on him if you have the first waiver priority. I mean, he was probably picked up as the first one. It's not often that in Week 8 you get a starting running back role pop up there for you. So, yeah, Ty Johnson is supposed to be the leading back and the workhorse going forward. I just want to know what you kind of think about J.D. McKissick. Still kind of piques my interest a little bit. I think he's obviously going to get more of a Theo Riddick role there, but what do you think, dude? Is there a chance that J.D. McKissick could kind of be, especially in a PPR league, possibly, because we don't really know too much about Ty Johnson yet. Is there a possibility that J.D. McKissick could be actually the more productive running back in a fantasy format when it comes to PPR, since he is going to be more of a pass threat, or should be?
Yeah, there's 100% a chance there. I don't have his exact numbers in front of me. I had it on a different sheet before, but there's 100% the chance, right? Because Ty Johnson is the relative unknown here, right? McKissick has kind of kept himself involved, but not enough to be fantasy relevant until, I guess we'll call it this point. For the Lions, with Kerryon gone, the team is going to become, in theory, right, a more pass-happy offense, which we're going to talk about with Marvin Jones, Kenny Golladay in a minute. So there's no reason to believe that he can't become the, dare I say, glorified Theo Riddick, right? He's PPR monster. I don't say monster. That's probably an overstatement, but the PPR guy who's pulling in 6 to 8 balls a game with, call it 75 yards. I mean, that's a great day in PPR for a guy that's going to cost you literally nothing to pull off the waiver wire. So yeah, I don't see why it can't happen. This game is going to be interesting to see as what the full spread becomes with the two of them, and that'll take a little bit of time. But I do believe it can happen for sure.
Yeah, I think this is a good game to get a good picture of it. Obviously, with Giants' defense being really poor, but as of now, Ty Johnson should be the workhorse there, and I don't think J.D. McKissick should just be picked up just yet. But keep your eyes open on it.
Just watch.
Especially being later or midway through your season already, and if you're in need of a running back, it could be someone that you could be hopeful for that can have some bring PPR value to you. But you don't really know what's going to happen just yet. Ty Johnson's really, supposed to be the guy there, so we shall see a good sample of it this weekend. Yeah,
no question about it. Definitely going to get our first real good look at what that offense looks like without Kerryon Johnson. Don, let's talk wide receivers, right? Marvin Jones has his blow-up performance, 10 catches, 93 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Insane, and that's the upside we know, greater than the upside we even knew Marvin Jones offered. The question was really for him always just opportunity, right? He had more than 6 targets in just one game between weeks 1 and 6 before kind of the blow-up game with a season high of 13 last week. So, Marvin Jones, I think, continues to be an upside wide receiver 3 most weeks, this week included against the Giants. He'll be just fine. I mean, I'm not expecting anything near what we just saw, but he has the potential for it to be a Marvin Jones week at any point. I think we see a bounce back from Kenny Golladay. He's tied with Larry Fitz for the most targets inside the 10-yard line. Only Will Fuller has more deep ball targets than Kenny Golladay. He's a wide receiver 2 and has arguably one of the best target shares in the league. As a fantasy owner, you should be fucking pumped.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, if that performance for Marvin Jones wasn't the most Marvin Jones thing, though.
Oh, it's classic Marvin Jones, right? The fucking big blow up, and then he'll fucking recede back to nothing.
Yeah, it's such a Marvin Jones thing. I think he's a safe play this week as well. But I mean, just know that he's a frustrating fantasy player to own. He can have as much as a wide receiver 1 value and go all the way down to having a floor that's worth a very low end wide receiver 3.
He can break your damn heart.
You can roll him out this week, but and maybe against Oakland, but then there goes a Chicago and Dallas where he's probably going to be in, not putting up anything.
There's always a chance. And talk about disappointments, Don. TJ Hawkinson, after being the hot fucking item for, after that week 1 performance, he catches 3 of 5 for 32 yards last week. Jesse James has 4 targets in week 7. Hawkinson's a tight end 2 and shouldn't be in your lineup.
Yeah, thanks for being a waste of a waiver pick for me earlier this year.
Dude, waste for a lot of people. People that bid $50, $60 on waivers to get him, believing he was their tight end for the season, and he has brought nothing but heartache and pain to them. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. Rookie tight end. He will be their guy for the future, but for this year, definitely not it. I think with that, Don, let's pick this game.
You know what? I'm gonna go with Giants. I need Detroit to lose, and I'd be cool with it.
All right.
So let's go. I'm gonna go Giants.
I'm gonna split and take the Lions. We're gonna take the safe road here. And that's going to do it for the first half, guys. We're going to go and take a quick break, and we'll be back with 3 more 1 p.m. Eastern games here in part 1 of the Week 8 Fantasy Preview.
You're listening to Let's Talk Fantasy Football, home of the brutally honest fantasy advice you've always needed.
All right, guys, we are back, and let's jump right into it here with the Jets and the Jaguars. 1 p.m. Eastern start. Don, I know you love yourself some Gardner Minshew jagging off pretty much at all times of the day. But before we get to your Jaguars, let's start on the Jets side of the ball. Mr. Mono, Sam Darnold, with the toe injury, was upgraded to a full participant in Thursday's practice. He's expected to go for the Jets. We do not know anything more about him seeing ghosts, but he is expected to play this week. And fantasy-wise, that's it.
Real quick, I just need to go over the fact that I hate Adam Gase. We've talked about this last year with the controversial podcast.
Yes, we have.
I mean, dude, he's bad, bro. And, there was a little bit of hope going into the season fantasy-wise because no one really wants to give hope to the Jets personally, especially being in the New York area and if you're not a Jets fan. But, I mean, you got your quarterback, Sam Darnold. And I get it, right? He caught mono because he kissed his first girl for the first time ever, and he was out. So you had to deal with Luke Falk. So I get it. But you have Sam Darnold. You get Lev Bell. You've got nice receivers, right? Like a Robbie Anderson, where they were building rapport at the end of last year, so you had high hopes for him. Jamison Crowder, you thought was a nice little veteran add and for the slot play, and here we are. I mean, they are just terrible, dude. I mean, I even am trying to just solely off the name of Lev Bell. I'm trying to sell him purely off his name to upgrade because I'm in playoff position in a league where I was like, what? I have Juju and Lev Bell.
Yep.
I'm going to be in the playoffs, but let me see if I can just upgrade in like an RB position because I have a lot of receivers.
Sure.
Just use the names. And at this point, dude, like people, even guys that, you might not think, although who I was trying to trade is pretty up to date on fantasy, but I figured I'd throw it out because they were just lower. And I thought maybe they would just need a little bit more desperacy. But, people that you might think doesn't really pay too much attention. They might be paying attention to the fact that Lev Bell's been underwhelming for the fact that the Jets suck.
Look, man, when someone goes on national TV and you hear them say that they're seeing ghosts, I mean, that opens everybody's eyes a little bit to the whole team. The whole team, I think, is seeing ghosts as far as the Jets are concerned.
Yeah.
Yikes. I mean, Le'Veon Bell, you own him, you're playing him. You don't have
I'm definitely playing him. I have him. I was actually high on Lev Bell this year. I thought he would be kind of bailing them out a lot.
Yep.
So Lev Bell's still there, but I mean, his floor is good, right? He's got a good floor.
Yep.
But his ceiling's just not there. He's not what you needed, unfortunately. But that's more game script, and the Jets suck.
The Jets are not. The Jets aren't what we thought they were going to be either, unfortunately. So
or they are what we thought they were going to be. Who knows? It's the fucking Jets,
That's true.
You're hopeful for the pieces, but the organization sucks. And
correct. I had hoped for a little bit of a better team. I thought that would have helped Bell's upside a little bit. But, again, he has been fine. Robbie Anderson in this matchup here, Don, he is a wide receiver 3, I'd say, in this matchup here. His target shares have kind of been actually, they've been pretty good now. I'm looking at him. At least 7 targets in all 3 of Darnold's starts this season. And he's an upside wide receiver 3 with actually a good matchup here against Trey Herndon. Pro Football Focus's number 113th overall cornerback. So
that means it's 112 better than him.
The 112 better than him, which means that there's definitely some opportunity here for some upside here on him. So especially in DFS, you want to buy somebody. I don't know what he's priced at, but I got to think there's some opportunity for some return on investment there with him. I think the more interesting guy and the guy you have to back off a little bit if you were considering it is Jamison Crowder. He gets DJ Hayden, number 13th overall cornerback this season. Obviously, that means there's only 12 better than him. Definitely a better corner. Definitely a better matchup. The targets, obviously, the target share, in 3 games with Darnold, he's got 31 compared to Robbie Anderson's 23. But I think your expectations are tempered pretty heavily here for Crowder this week.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Herndon's still dealing with the hamstring. He's limited again in Thursday's practice. I don't think it matters. You have nothing to do with this tight end position anyway. Fair?
That's fair, dude. I think going over the Jets the way you did, you might as well just cover the Jets, man. I mean,
Sure. Yeah.
Here's the thing, though, too. I mean, not only is Herndon hurt, but Jaguars are pretty good against tight end. So there's that, man. I think where I'd put it is Robbie Anderson, if you play him, cool. You could be rewarded handsomely, or if you don't play him, not too bad of a choice either, since the Jets really kind of suck.
Ain't that the truth? Don, let's talk about the other side of the ball with the Jaguars. Your guys, you're jagging off Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, so here's a little bit depressing news, right? Obviously, Gardner Minshew is kind of the face of all the fans and fantasy fans that just love who he is and the personality he brings. And he's been playing great.
Yep.
The problem, Nick Foles, I believe, is expected to be back week 11.
Yikes.
So I've been rocking a lot of Gardner Minshew, actually, and you can probably expect that to come to an end soon. So take advantage of Gardner Minshew this week against the Jets. I think he's going to have another big week. But here's a question for you, Schreck.
Sure.
Do you think Nick Foles – I'm assuming Nick Foles was dropped in most leagues, right? I don't think anyone's holding onto him.
No, they shouldn't be.
Even if you have an IR spot, I don't think that Nick Foles is worth the ad. Would you add Nick Foles within the next few weeks if you've been rocking a Gardner Minshew and all that? Since he probably will be getting – I mean, they paid him a lot of money. He would probably get his starting role back, I would assume.
Yeah, see, that's a funny spot, right, to think about, if you're the Jaguars, what are you doing? Because like you said, you paid Nick Foles a lot of money, so if he's healthy, how do you not plug him back in there? But if the Jaguars, it's week 8, I don't know what, so just say they win three of their next games, right? So they go on a 3-game win streak, whatever, into that week 11 when Nick Foles coming back. How do you bench Gardner Minshew? If the team is winning, he's performing. Like, I don't know. Again, I think if you're a Gardner Minshew owner and you don't have a viable backup or another viable option, I think it's time to start exploring that or looking ahead at some streamable options. I don't know that I'm going to rush to add Nick Foles, right? He's coming back from injury. How is he going to look if they do make him the starter? Is he ready to step right back in? I mean, I think I'm looking at what other options maybe are on the wire, what some of those matchups may look like for week 11 looking forward. I don't think Nick Foles is someone that I'm looking to make that ad for. But I do like the foresight to look at that, Don.
Yeah, I mean, and then this kind of will change the dynamic of the pass catchers too, right? So even though DJ Shark's kind of slowed down a bit, but in the same sense, D.D. Westbrook has upticked with his target share and performance quite a bit in the last few weeks. I wish I had the stats in front of me because I was looking at it before and listening to it before, which was really cool. But now I've started to become comfortable in our 3-receiver league of playing D.D. every week. If Nick Foles comes back, does that mean he's just going to go right to D, or is this kind of change the dynamic of where they're going? Because week 5 he had 11 targets. Week 6 he had 8 targets, 9 targets against Cincinnati. I expect him to have quite a bit of target share against the Jets and then Houston next week. So does this change a little bit, or do you feel like you should still feel comfortable and confident if you have Shark and Westbrook that it's still going to be kind of the same gameplay for these guys and the same game plan?
Yeah, I mean, long term, I think it's – DJ Shark, like you said, it seems to be have that better relationship there with Nick Foles. And D.D. Westbrook now is 54 targets versus DJ Shark with 48. Leonard Fournette is third with 38. So, they're pretty close, within 6 as of right now. I think they stay similar. It wouldn't shock me if Nick Foles came back and it reversed back to DJ Shark being his preferred target versus D.D., because I think, again, it comes down to that connection, that relationship that the QB and the wide receiver has, right? It's not necessarily about the Jaguars being like, well, DD's now more our 1A versus our 1B. I think that's going to be dictated by the QB rather than what the Jaguars have been doing for 10 weeks. Because if they win, everybody's happy. And I think it would be Shark, but I think both the guys are good, obviously good holds, and you're still kind of rolling them out there, right? I mean, D.D. Westbrook goes 6 for 103 in week 7 with no touchdowns. Sharks failed to get over 60 yards or find the end zone in back-to-back weeks. So, Shark, I think, is the better the better fantasy option, I think, based on target share, as a whole. But I don't think the disparity we saw early on between the two is gonna exist long term.
So I don't feel okay. So we're obviously way ahead of you. We've gotten to the point where we're like talking like week 11 and all that. And
sure.
We're not doing our matchup, but I kind of feel the opposite. I feel that Westbrook is your safer bet, being that slot receiver.
Yeah.
He's seen quite an uptick lately as well. Now that the team is more established and that offense is more established, I think that's more of a better sign. So I actually think D.D. Westbrook's the safer bet. I think, yes, DJ Shark obviously has the high risk, high reward of he 100% has a higher ceiling than D.D. Westbrook.
He's the deep threat guy for sure.
100%. But I think D.D. Westbrook at this point is the better own. But for this week, because we did just go off the rails a little bit with the Jags and the quarterback controversy with the high-paid Big Dick Nick energy here, and then Gardner Minshew, who's now an icon. So, but in the meantime, you start Gardner Minshew against the Jets. You start Leonard Fournette against the Jets. You start DJ Shark against the Jets. You start D.D. Westbrook against the Jets. I see you put Chris Conley here. Do you have anything on Chris Conley?
No, I just wanted to say I don't think anybody should be chasing that, right? He saw 3 of 8 last week for 83 yards. It's the first time since week 1 he had more than 5 passing opportunities. So I just don't go chasing it. I think that's as good as it gets no matter what.
Yeah, I think we just had to put a name there for someone that we didn't want to play. So Chris Conley and any tight end out of the Jaguars. But other than that, the core 4 there is someone that needs to be played against the Jets.
Yep, I agree. We're not interested in the tight end spot in any of these guys. They're using a committee back there anyway. Let's pick this game, Don. I'm taking the Jags. Jagging off.
I always jag off, man.
You're always jagging off. On
3 times a day.
3 times a day. That's how he has become the fantasy champ that he is, and we love him for it. Don, Bengals versus the Rams, 1 p.m. Eastern start. Let's start on the Bengals side of the ball. The Red Rifle, Andy Dalton, and boy, are the Bengals freaking bad, man. Just is what it is. There's no fantasy value as far as Andy Dalton's concerned, right?
Poor Vinny, man.
I feel like you're just like I gotta say it. It's just eating away at me. I gotta say it. Poor Vinny.
Yeah, the Bengals are just a mess, man. I mean, even Joe Mixon, but never been a big Joe Mixon fan, but I thought his value was good this year, and it's just like you have to play him, but no real ceiling. It's just a floor there to play an RB2, and they're just sad, just like the Bengals are.
Just like the Bengals.
Like, is there anyone you want to play other than Joe Mixon against the Rams? Like, do you want to talk about Auden Tate? Like, does he?
I mean, I think if you're gonna have any exposure to the Bengals passing game, it's Tyler Boyd, right? 14 targets in week 7. I mean, 14 targets is big. Alex Erickson had 14 targets. I mean, Tate only had 6 against the Jaguars. Tate makes highlight reel catches and things like that, but that doesn't necessarily translate to fantasy points. Only Michael Thomas and Cooper Kupp have more targets than Tyler Boyd this season. So I think you continue to fire Tyler Boyd up as a wide receiver 3 without the matchup. I don't expect any consistency out of Alex Erickson, or even Auden Tate here. I think just important to know.
The only thing, though, he still only has the targets are great, but he still only has 1 touchdown. And Rams have just ramped up their defense with adding Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's an ideal matchup. I think he's a low wide receiver 3, but I think if you do want if you believe here, or the 14 targets are just so hard to ignore, right? If he catches a couple more of those, he does find the end zone. That's a ton of action versus some guys that I may have in my lineups places that are not seeing anywhere near that volume. You just got to love the volume, hoping it's going to play, right? I mean, the Bengals have not reached 24 points in a single game this season. There's only 3 teams who are of a implied to score fewer points than the Bengals this week. So not a great sign, but somebody's got to score. I think for me, it's Tyler Boyd. I'm still okay as a low wide receiver 3.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I ranked was a low wide receiver 3. So if you need a low wide receiver 3 to play, that's Tyler Boyd.
Yeah, that's it. I think, and that's we don't need to spend any more time on that offense. The Rams side of the ball, Don.
Yeah, this is another week where I'm actually playing Jared Goff over Gardner Minshew. I think you can go either way there, but I think I'm going to play Jared Goff another week. If you don't have the Jared Goff, Gardner Minshew dynamic duo like myself, Jared Goff's a pretty good play, man, against a really bad Cincinnati Bengals. Again, that wide receiver core, and Gerald Everett's a decent tight end too. They've got so many options, man. It's just against a really bad team. This is a week where you can see Jared Goff have a good week.
Yeah,
his fantasy value has taken an uptick back after having a few bad weeks earlier this season.
And Jared Goff he's better at home, just statistically. Almost 50 more yards at home, more TDs, less picks, better completion rate. So all good things for Goff in that offense. Cooper Kupp is the PPR wide receiver number 3 through 7 weeks.
Love Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, how can you not? That guy he does it time and time again. Fucking points galore for fantasy owners.
For sure.
What do you think here on Brandon Cooks and Robert Woods? I think they're in your lineups this week. I don't know if they get better matchups against a bad Bengals secondary.
Yeah, I mean, I think Robert Woods has still been kind of a guy that I'm still playing every week. Obviously, he's had some underwhelming weeks, but he's still not to the point where you're sitting him. Brandon Cooks has obviously been for the past few years, or really this whole career, has been he's a boomer bust guy. Yep. And he's on an offense that is very potent with receivers. I mean, there's a lot of options. I don't know, man. His targets are so up and down.
I'm with you, man. I share concerns here. But I think against the Bengals, I think you can. It's just a matchup. I think if you own them, depends on your other options, right? But in a vacuum,
if you're desperate to play someone, like, sure, there's just so much upside to him. I mean, he could just catch one deep ball for a touchdown, and that makes it worth the week. But if you don't need to play him, I don't think you need to play him. I don't think he has earned a spot. I think he's a wide receiver 3. I don't think you need to play him, but if you need to as well, there is a chance against a Cincinnati team that he could
make it happen.
Get you what you need.
All right, fair enough. What about Gerald Everett, Don? Any interest in the tight end here? I mean, I've got to say you're rolling him out there as a mid-tier tight end 1. All right, I mean, at least 8 targets in 3 of the last 4 games. He's presently PPR tight end number 9 in the season, tight end number 2 over the past 4 games. You get Jared Goff at home against a bad Bengals secondary. I think he's probably a very cheap and great DFS play, as well as the waiver wire guy. I'm sure, waivers hopefully were done this morning, but whatever, those claims are done. People own him. But nothing but good fantasy goodness here from the Rams offense.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Cincinnati's it's actually pretty good against the tight end, but his target share has been, for the last 4 weeks, have been really nice. I think that itself will you have to play him.
Yeah, we watched Tyler Higbee go the other way. 7 combined targets over the past 3. With the rise of Gerald Everett has been the fall of Tyler Higbee. I think, again, nothing but good things here to come. And a tight end, which has been a bit of a roll of the dice, right? Hoop Daddy is tight end number 1.
Yeah.
Like, fuck.
I mean, I mean, it's not like we're talking receivers here. We're also talking about tight ends where there's not that much wealth in that position. So you have to play Everett at that point.
Yep, 100%. Let's pick this game.
We didn't talk about Gurley, but he's a must-play.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I thought it was automatic. You're right. Gurley
You're playing every Ram with the exception if you don't want to play Brandon Cooks, which I'm cool with. But everyone else, is a for sure. Play him.
Sorry, Vinny. We're going to sweep it through and we'll take the Rams.
Agreed.
Buccaneers versus the Titans, 1 p.m. Eastern start. Let's start on the Buccaneers side of the ball. Jameis Winston leading the charge here for the Buccaneers. Any fantasy interest in Jameis Winston?
If there was a game that I was so not interested this weekend, it's this one.
Oh my goodness! All right, let's move.
I'm sorry, but no, I don't have. Jameis Winston should just be a backup quarterback somewhere that should never play again.
Tell me how you really feel.
That's how I really feel.
That's how you really feel.
I mean, how can you go from throwing 400 yards one week to throwing 5 interceptions every other week?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Mike Evans, if you own him, you're playing him. I mean,
he sucks, but his receivers are good. Mike Evans and Godwin, you have to play.
Yep, Mike Evans has burned you, but you're playing him. Chris Godwin, you're playing him. There's really no question. Any interest in the running game for Peyton Barber?
Not really.
Yeah, I'm with you. Just doesn't do it for me. So I'm going to be a hard pass there on Mr. Peyton Barber. Tight end, Cameron Brate, 12 for 119 and 2 on 14 targets. He seems to be just way better than O.J. Howard, but he's not a consistent fantasy guy in general, I think is the fairest way to put that.
Yeah, dude. Don't buy into the Brate. I've done it before, and just there's weeks he'll do good, and there's weeks he's just not there, and I'm not playing him at all.
Sweet. Let's flip to the other side of the ball.
I mean, and look at that, dude. He's only had 1 week of 4 targets. The rest are 2, 2, 2, 3, 1.
Yep.
Get out of here with that. Stop it.
Yep. Go get yourself some Gerald Everett. Titans side of the ball, Donnie boy, Ryan Tannehill gets to lead the Titans, which weirdly enough is a boost, dare I say, for the Titans offense.
No, I wouldn't even dare I say that. Dude, Mariota's been for long enough.
Well, for me, it's just more about Ryan Tannehill being a boost, not necessarily about Mariota.
Yeah, I mean, Tannehill has never really been bad. He's just never been really good.
So he's just average.
Yeah,
just somewhere right in between.
If you wanna list the guy as vanilla, it would be Ryan Tannehill, man.
I don't think there's any better way to describe a person in the world, Don, than Ryan Tannehill as vanilla. You look at his target distribution so far this season, Don. Corey Davis with 11, A.J. Brown with 10, Adam Humphries with 4. I'm sorry, Adam Humphries with 8, Jonnu Smith with 4. I think the only one right now that intrigues me is Corey Davis with the 11 targets.
Yeah, dude. Corey Davis just trying to piss everybody off.
Fucking crazy. I have cut him, and I had cut him, I should say. And now it appears Ryan Tannehill has found his target, so to speak. So we're going to have to wait. I'm still on the wait-and-see approach for this offense on the wide receiver game. I want to see a little bit more of it before any confidence in advising anybody here between Davis, Brown, any of these guys. The running game, Don.
I mean, I'm cool with playing Davis, though, dude. I mean, Tampa Bay's really bad against they're just really bad defense for the most part. I mean, I think they're the worst for passing in the league right now. I'm cool with playing Corey Davis, especially with the new reins of Ryan Tannehill. I think he's going to be his go-to guy, and I'm cool with playing him.
Okay. I think Derrick Henry, Don, I think is interesting because he's running. I think he's a touchdown-dependent, low RB2 this week. The Buccaneers have actually been extremely stout against opposing running backs this year, giving up only 2.71 yards per carry. They limited Christian McCaffrey twice to 16 carries for 37 yards in week 2 and 22 carries for 31 yards in week 6, which is a bit shocking considering Saquon was 8 for 10, Gurley 5 for 16, Kamara 16 for 62. So I think Derrick Henry needs to get into the goal line, get into the end zone. If he can get some goal line looks or maybe get involved in the passing game, he'll be okay. But on the ground, I'm a bit concerned about what we're going to see out of Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I agree, but I'm still rolling Derrick Henry. I'm not sitting him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. Just I think the expectations have to be tempered if you end up with a 4-point game out of Derrick Henry. If he doesn't find the end zone, I don't think that's unreasonable to expect.
No, you're right, but I think with Derrick Henry, I'm gonna bite the bullet, and if I get the 4 points, I'm gonna just swallow it, and it is what it is. But
yeah,
it's just still not enough for me to. It's what I do. It's not enough for me to sit him.
Any interest in the tight end spot, Don? Delaney Walker is injured. Jonnu Smith takes on a larger role. I mean,
no.
It's just the passing of Delaney Walker. He's officially off the pasture, if you will.
Yeah, I had to drop him.
Yeah, it's
another one of my boys that just.
It's time. It's time, man. Unfortunately,
I had to let him go.
Let's pick this game, Don.
Yeah. Even though Jameis Winston's really bad, his receivers are really good. I'm gonna go Bucks, dude.
I'm gonna take the Titans.
Actually, although I shouldn't want the Bucks because I have the Titans defense right now, but I'll go Bucks for the sake of it.
All right, let's do it. Split that game, and our last game of part one of the preview, Don. The Eagles versus the Bills, a 1 p.m. Eastern start for these guys. I've got let's start on the Eagles side of the ball. Carson Wentz, who has been I don't even want to say revived as of late, but has put up some production, so to speak, for fantasy owners after a bit of a frustrating time. You playing him?
Yeah, I mean, if I own Wentz, I'm playing him against the Bills.
Let's start with the wide receivers because the running game is just a frustrating one for me because Jordan Howard just fucking upsets me. After I watched him do absolutely nothing last year, and that's just a personal vendetta for me. Unfortunately, Alshon Jeffrey.
Actually,
go ahead.
I lied. Go with our streamer options. Bills are good.
The Bills are very
good.
The Bills are very good.
My boy Carlos Hyde is the man. Not Carlos Hyde. Oh my God. Yeah, Mike Hyde. I'm sorry. Mike Hyde's the man. Carlos Hyde. This guy.
You got the Hyde right.
I'm drunk off of no alcohol, dude.
Big day for you.
I'm cool with sitting Carson Wentz, dude. I'm just gonna already tell you I'm taking the Bills this week.
Wow, there it is, guys. You heard it here first.
We got smacked by Dallas. Bills Mafia coming out strong. Yeah, I actually am cool with streaming over Wentz this week.
So, is there anybody here that you're interested in playing? Maybe Jeffrey is an upside wide receiver 3?
I would say Jeffrey with the upside, and then really praying Zach Ertz does something. Zach Ertz's targets have still not been bad, even though his production has been not the best. His targets are still there. So I'm still rolling out Zach Ertz with the hopes because the target share is still there. That's Wentz's man. I'm still going to roll him out and hope for the best. But obviously understand that there's a chance he might not do much.
Yeah. So I'm assuming you're out on Dallas Goedert, though.
Yes, I'm out on Goddard.
Okay. Yeah, I think he's on that breaking point of like tight end 1, tight end 2. I think there are other options depending on what your wire looks like that you could roll with. But I think for future matchups, I'm still interested in Goddard. I just don't think this is the one here against a very, very good Bills defense. To support that, Don, the Bears and Patriots are the only teams that have longer streaks of not allowing QB to surpass 300 yards than the Bills. So that supports your streaming versus Carson Wentz option here. Bills pass defense is elite, unquestioned. No question about it.
My boy Carlos Hyde back there.
Carlos Hyde, he's just fucking smacking guys. For the running game, Miles Sanders, Jordan Howard, you traded away Miles Sanders, which we touched on last week. Any interest in these guys against the Buffalo defense?
Nope.
Yeah. Jordan, you need them to tumble into the end zone, which I have no confidence in the Eagles being able to do. So let's talk flip side of the ball, Don. Let's talk about the Buffalo Bills offense. Smokey Brown joins Michael Thomas as the league's only players with at least 50 receiving yards in every single game this season.
Interesting.
He's a matchup-proof wide receiver too, as far as I'm concerned. He gets a bad Eagles secondary. Possibly even, I would say, a high wide receiver 2, maybe even a low 1, depending on if things can really work out for the Bills. But they get a bad Eagles secondary. You get a very talented guy here in Smokey Brown. You look at just some of the names and what they've done. Whew, you got to be excited.
Yeah, for sure. Agreed.
Cole Beasley, Don. Any interest here? He's caught at least 3 passes in every contest this season, but he's failed to clear 25 receiving yards in the game since week 4. Yeah, because you're playing a bad Eagles team, but I don't think I can do it.
No, I think John Brown is the receiver to go with, and that's it.
That's it. What about rookie tight end Dawson Knox?
Nope. Been down that path.
Not
no
interested.
Dawson Knox. No.
Not interested. Okay.
Interested in Josh Allen, though. I think he's going to have a few rushing TDs.
Yeah, I mean, if we're expecting the performance that we are from Smokey Brown, that means good things for Josh Allen as well. So he'll probably be in a couple of my DFS lineups just for some fun.
Ooh, just a little Josh Allen, John Brown stack.
We know you love those stacks, Don.
Love it.
You love those stacks. Anybody else on the Bills side of the ball? Oh, I skipped the whole running game. Yikes. I've done that quite a few times tonight already.
You're just skipping, man. What are you in a rush for?
I'm in no rush. I don't need sleep at all. Frank Floor.
Yeah, I mean, if you want a consistent back that's going to get you a decent floor, you play Frank Floor, dude. The guy's unbelievable.
Fucking frustrating as shit, man. The one guy that just is always going to fucking eat me up inside. Frank Floor. Somehow, some way, he always fucking makes it happen.
Great guy.
Well, you don't know that, but fantasy-wise, he does.
I believe he's a great guy.
Devin Singletary, Don. I'm trying to pull up his snap numbers here. Played just 22 of 51 snaps in Week 7. Returned from a hamstring injury against the Dolphins. Singletary should probably get back to some double-digit touches. I don't know. I think a low RB3 against the Eagles.
Yeah, Eagles' rush defense is pretty good. I'm going to look elsewhere.
Yep, no problem with that. With that, Don, I'll pick since you already picked. Bills, sweep it on through. And that does it for part 1 of the Week 8 fantasy preview. Don. Weed. Yeah, you were talking
CBD
about
CBD, and all of a sudden, this guy.
Yeah, you were talking CBD with me, and all of a sudden you got me throwing weed out into the
guy's got weed on his mind.
Into the podcast. Yeah, well, the CBD
little piggies can't smoke.
Weed. Guys, part 2 of the preview will be out for you guys Saturday morning. So get ready for that. Listen in. And again, check out the Week 7 recap. A lot of good fantasy nuggets in there for you guys. I know it says Week 7, but don't overthink it. Walsh and Vinny crushed it as usual. Get your questions in early, guys. DM us, comment on posts, email info@letstalkfantasyfootball.com, or on Twitter. Wherever you're sending them, we'll get to you. And Sundays get hectic, guys. You guys like to wait till the last minute, and we can only get to so many. So if we don't answer you, don't take it personal, but get to us early in the week, and you'll be A-okay. Don, anything for the people?
Just make smart decisions. Play good players. Don't play bad players. You'll be all right.
Make reasonable choices, guys. For the DON, I am Nick Schreck. We're with Let's Talk Fantasy Football. We will catch you on the flip side.
This has been Let's Talk Fantasy Football. Thanks for listening.